ESPN, celebrating 150 years of college football.
A cheer from across the way as the Trojans take the lead.
The way I grew up in the culture of college football, you had to look good in addition to being good. And part of that was your uniform.
I think the uniform has become an iconic part of the American game.
They are not just athletes wearing uniforms, they're superheroes wearing costumes.
Evans. Goodbye.
This is who I am, and this is who I affiliate. These are my colors.
The schools that have the most tradition, it seems, are also the schools that have the most basic color patterns. You don't even have to see the names and numbers. You see those colors, whether it's a helmet, a jersey, and those programs are the ones that bring out the most emotions in people. That's another facet of college football that's unique.
The greatest.
Guys, I want to thank all of you for coming here on the anniversary of college football. 150 years, we're celebrating the game that means so much to all of us. I can't think of another sport that encourages as much civil and sometimes not so civil discussion and debate and discourse as college football. I'm hoping most of this will be civil, but if you want to get uncivil every now and then, that might make it fun. So I want you guys to think of us as a jury. And what we're going to do is try to put together the greatest of the great. And since there are 11 of us, let's come up with top 11 in a number of categories. And while I have great respect for all of your football knowledge and all of you are eminently qualified to discuss college football, this category, I'm afraid, having known some of you for a number of years, you are not qualified to discuss because it has to do with what people wear.
Wow.
He's not talking about us, ladies.
Yeah, I'm not talking about you guys, nor am I talking about myself. I'm eminently qualified for that. So let's come up with the greatest uniforms.
I'd like to give you an opportunity to view a football player completely equipped from head to foot in modern equipment.
Classic-looking uniforms are the ones that got tradition and history, and it's sort of bare bones, just the facts. And when you think about it, you can think of Penn State.
102 youngsters wear the blue and white tonight for the Nittany Lions.
Penn State colors, they're pretty good because they are so old. They're so classic. They seem so unchanged.
Who would ever think that you would put a swoosh, whatever you call it, on the Penn State uniforms? It's like painting a mustache on the Mona Lisa.
They just try to bring some pressure. McSorley steps up, takes a downfield shot for Godwin, who makes a catch.
You would never tell anybody who attended Penn State or rooted for Penn State that they need to modernize their uniform because people just, they embrace it.
McSorley running all the way, cuts it back and barrels in. And Penn State builds more momentum.
Wearing the crimson and cream out of the Big 12 Conference, the Oklahoma Sooners.
When I see the crimson and cream, what makes me happiest is that I know that these are the most extraordinary athletes playing with all that passion for the school because they chose to go there.
Touchdown!
They wanted to go wear that uniform. And so that furnishes this level of passion to go along with all that athletic ability.
Where's the speed? Hollywood! Showtime!
When I first saw Oklahoma play, it was against Nebraska, and again in the game of the century. I saw the uniforms, and I saw them in red and white, and I liked the uniforms, but what I really enjoyed and liked the most was the all-white. I mean, hey, sleek, white shoes, and at that time, nobody else was wearing white shoes, not very many schools. That caught my eye, and they had a running back by the name of Greg Pruitt, and Greg Pruitt could flat-ass fly. So everybody could run. Speed, plus the white shoes.
You've got to be known for something, and you got to be the cool place to be. So when we got to Texas, my wife Sally and I got together and said, nobody's wearing burnt orange. So we said, come early, stay late, wear burnt orange. That was really important to us. I'd have ladies come up and say, I don't look good in burnt orange. I said, you will for 4.5 hours. Just wear it for me. That's all I want.
What about these Longhorn fans? They're unbelievable.
And now the stands are full.
The burnt orange is so identifiable, not just with that school, but I think with that entire state.
The bus stops are burnt orange in Austin, Texas. This stuff permeates everything you do in one of these towns.
I can't stand the burnt orange. If I'm on a movie set and I see some jackass on the crew wearing the burnt orange, particularly a hat, I will do everything I can to remove it.
To me, that burnt orange color is a lot of passion, a lot of hardship, a lot of cries, a lot of tears.
Good for the corner. He's got it.
A lot of history going to that burnt orange.
And here come the Bayou Bengals with the American flag held high.
The best uniform color scheme is LSU. The all-white and yellow they have picked go together in the most visually appealing way, especially the way that the uniforms are designed.
Starting teams are introduced to a nationwide television audience. LSU in the white jerseys.
And LSU is one of those rare teams that wear white at home, and it's their signature look, and it sets them apart in college football.
Williams.
There's no other state in the Union that's like Louisiana.
Touchdown, Tigers!
We invented swagger.
We got that!
And I think that shows up in the design of the uniform. And it shows up in how we wear it. I think it's just the way that we carry ourselves.
They're going to run it with White, and Lendale walks in.
You know, USC doesn't necessarily have the most glitz and glam, which you might think you would find in Southern California. It's so identifiable, not just with that school, but I think with that entire state.
First down, and it's Charles White, touchdown.
Well, you know, that cardinal and gold, that just looks good. I mean, it's fly. I want to wear that. I want to rep that. It stood the test of time. It's known all over the country, and it's cool.
When I mentioned Alabama, I used the D word, dynasty, and you should.
Over 40,000 fans packed Birmingham's Legion Stadium as Orange Bowl-bound Alabama met traditional rival Auburn.
In 1907, when Alabama played Auburn, the conditions were awful, and a newspaper writer in Birmingham described a sea of red mud in which Alabama moved, and their jerseys showed that mud. So it became a crimson tide.
Alabama throws wide open. 80 yards, the first play of the game.
The uniform has not changed and will not change. You don't have to ask any doubts about who that is when they trot on that field with that crimson helmet on and that crimson jersey. It is Alabama.
All we need is just somebody that wants to do some leadership out there. Now we go. Come on, hit.
When I watch a game, I want to immediately recognize who's playing. That's why I like the Brooks Brothers type uniforms. Might not be the flashiest, but they are crisp, they're clean, and they're classic. When I say classic uniform, what comes to mind?
There are uniforms you do not touch. If you want to get in trouble with Alabama, you either lose to Auburn or you mess with the uniforms.
This will be the shortest discussion we have this whole time because it's Penn State and no other. Those are the classic of all classic uniforms. They don't change. They're team first. They're crisp. They're clean. I just don't know where we go from here because it's obviously Penn State.
I want to have the players' names on the back. That's why my first is LSU.
Marcus, did you feel like y'all were special because you were wearing white?
It was different. It was different. It's like you getting dressed for Easter Sunday, right? Like everybody goes to church on Easter Sunday and everybody wears their best suit.
Paul Dietzel wanted to wear the whites in '58, and they won the national championship, so everybody fell in love with them, and it's, you know.
USC too, man. I mean, USC to me, it was the most popular for my generation. And it had a lot to do with them being in the Rose Bowl.
You have to think of classic as retro. Penn State, Alabama, the teams that take the field, it's like no matter where you are, you don't even see the emblem that they have in the middle of their jersey. It's like, that's Penn State. It may look like a high school team uniform, but it's highly recognizable with no emblem.
It's
so what do you do with it?
It's clean.
If you've got style, you can wear a navy blue suit and it looks like a freaking $1,000,000.
Speaking of navy blue suits.
Present company.
My hand almost slid off the shoulder.
Uniforms are great if they're classic, instantly recognizable, but you want a little flair, too. You want yours to be set apart from the field, and some have really done that well.
Null motions out on 3rd down. Garrettson batted down. Jelks got there, and it's picked off. And the Ducks with a pick 6.
I'll turn TV on sometimes. I'll be flipping around. I'll watch a game and go, woo! That's caught my eye. It's like, oh, there's a lime green guy running.
Jets lead right towards the end zone.
The story of Oregon in the last 10 years has really been one of the great stories in American sports because they sold a marketing idea using the uniforms.
Adams, quarterback draw. Vernon Adams leaps into the end zone, touchdown.
You know, when they decided that they were going to change uniforms, initially they were going to do it every 3 weeks. And they're like, that's not enough. And they thought about it. If you go out every Saturday night, are you going to wear the same thing out? No.
Once a duck, always a duck. That's the name of this combination.
And so Oregon took that model. So we're going to have something different every Saturday.
Oregon's a fascinating story because what they did was they said, you know what our tradition is that we have no tradition. You want to run out on the field in South Bend and see those gold helmets, or you want to go to Alabama and see the houndstooth and the plain uniforms because that's what the Bear would have wanted. What Oregon said is, what do you want? You're 17. Now, why'd they do that? They did it out of necessity because they're stuck in the woods up in Oregon and they're not really growing linebackers there. But it worked.
Under this houndstooth hat lay the brains of college football's ultimate wishbone machine.
Bear's been dead for a long time, but Bear reminds you when you go to Bryant-Denny Stadium that this is Alabama football, and people are wearing houndstooth hats.
Bear Bryant's Crimson Tide of Alabama has been king of the South in the 70s, winning 4 consecutive Southeastern Conference titles.
I guess you could have that in the list if you count coaches as wearing uniforms too. It's a visual signifier that's very closely associated with a legendary figure.
I walked into the bookstore at Alabama 2 or 3 years ago and counted up the number of different items that were in houndstooth. Hats, shirts, shoes, shorts.
Auburn took on 4th-ranked Alabama today with Alabama coach Bear Bryant seeking to become the winningest coach in college football history.
If I see houndstooth in any capacity, I think of Alabama, period. I've been in England before and seen a houndstooth coat and realized that this human being has no idea who Bear Bryant is, but I think of Bear Bryant.
Bryant humanized a place that, to that point, has some very negative connotations.
Well, the whole appeal of Bryant was that he made those of us who lived there look good when so many people weren't making us look good.
Almost anyone who's ever watched college football could tell you who the coach was that wore houndstooth. I mean, it defined him, it defined a generation, and it defined Alabama. It's become maybe the most iconic coaching attire, in my opinion.
For Oregon, it was going into L.A., you know, and finding guys and selling them on something other than classic USC.
Well, they created a template. I think Oregon created a whole new template of my generation of the evolution of football in general. It was Deion's quote, you look good, you play good.
They have 17,000 uniform combinations. This is college football, not the Kardashians, not Lady Gaga.
They might be the Kardashians
I mean, it's
of college
crazy.
football. That might be them. That might be them.
I get it. You the old madman on the porch, Mark. I get it.
Shaking the
you guys never need to change, but the change was good.
We spent a lot of time talking about the jerseys and the pants and stuff like that with the uniforms, but really the thing that makes a football uniform different other than the pads underneath the headgears.
Today, football headgears are made from plastic or leather and weigh 26 ounces.
I would go to Ohio State games when Archie Griffin was playing there, and he tells me I can put on his helmet, and I'm just like, oh my God. I remember looking at that helmet and putting it on, and that was part of me getting hooked.
First down for the Buckeyes, and there goes Griffin.
Ohio State definitely has an iconic uniform, and I think what sets them apart are those Buckeye merit decals on the helmet. Ohio State is credited with pioneering this in 1968 when Woody Hayes was coaching, but you can go back and see photos in 1960 of Rutgers adding little stars to their helmets.
Like somebody who hadn't watched football said, why do they have so many marijuana leaves on their helmet? Well, it's not marijuana leaves. Not really? Because it looks like, no, they're Buckeyes. They're not marijuana. Really? Are you sure they're not marijuana? Because they look, no, they're not.
When you think about Ohio State's helmet, and when you see he's got a ton of stickers on it, that means he is a tough son of a gun. He's one of the stars of that team. Because in order to get that, you know, you have to do something really special. So when you see that guy, his helmet is full of them, you're saying, this guy's the real deal.
I always kind of liked imagining what it was like for the guy who was out there and had like 2 of them.
Rex Kern, the Buckeyes' sensational soft passer, made John Brockington a favorite target for his pass.
Because you'd see like Rex Kern with like a lot of them and Archie Griffin, and then like one guy would have like 2. And you go, they must hate him.
Some people, when they die, want to go to heaven wearing Gucci shoes. But when I'm in that box and my friends are coming by looking at me, I want to be wearing this helmet. This is the Michigan helmet.
That's why my brother started liking Michigan, was because of the winged helmet. Thought it was one of the most unique helmets in the game. I couldn't wait to put that helmet on. It's identifiable. I mean, it's when you see that helmet, you know.
When Bo Schembechler, there, an Ohio guy, I think it's Ann Arbor, he made some joke at some banquet about the silly helmets and how he's going to change them. Yeah. Oh, are you? Don Canham is AD and the former coach, Bump Elliott, y'all kind of pull him in and say, you know, here at Michigan, there are certain things you do not joke about, and the helmet is 5 of them.
Hail to the country, hail, hail to Michigan, the champions of the world.
Here come the Irish. And the setting is as familiar as ever, Notre Dame Stadium.
Man, when you're talking about something that has stood the test of time like that uniform has, it's so plain, it's beautiful. I think that blue and gold with that gold helmet, you know, the gold helmet is probably the thing that sets it all off.
The Golden Dome was great, but I said to Father, do you think we could put ND on the helmet? And he said, the helmet reflects the lady on the dome. I said, did you ever think about putting ND on the dome? He said, I don't think that's very funny. That's as far as that conversation went.
The color gold and the metal gold, it represents the highest value. In the subconscious of everybody, this special institution, and you're winning.
On 3rd and long, Rice to Ismail for a touchdown.
And then it becomes iconic. It becomes a representation of what people believe is special.
I've never not heard about them spray painting the helmets the night before with actual gold. Okay, I've heard it. Uncle.
When they refurbish the actual Golden Dome, the 10 or 15 times they've done it, they take paint from the dome and it makes its way onto the Golden Dome helmets. That's the most, I mean, you can't fake that.
3 spoonfuls of gold dust in every 5-gallon bucket of paint.
Yeah.
There's something about those Buckeye stickers on Ohio State's helmet. Hey, it's like the gold star in school. You know, you do something great, you get a sticker. And then it becomes, well, their best player must have the most stickers.
I just think it's too much, you know. I'm just telling you, you know.
Bill,
like,
stop.
You wouldn't have one on yours?
I'm going to give you a gold star later, and you're going to love it because it means you did a good job.
I honestly don't know. Do they take away stickers if you don't go to class?
Exactly, right? That's a great point. They should take them away. They should take them away.
The sticker is football.
What about Michigan's winged helmets, which were stolen from Princeton, I believe, but still. Even so.
Well, and we're introduced for a practical purpose, which was, okay, we're going to start throwing the football. We need to identify the guy downfield that we're actually throwing the football to, because it's a bunch of brown leather heads running around, and then it's, you know, okay, there's my guy with the wings on his head. I'm going to throw it to him.
I think it's the coolest helmet out there. For me, anyway, it's the one that stands out. No stickers, anything like that, but you recognize it immediately. Pretty awesome. That's a pretty classic look in a game.
They put stickers at Stanford. You didn't guys put stickers on your helmet.
They have stickers now. They didn't have stickers back in the
You
day.
get any trees back in the day? You get any trees, Ron?
Woodson's got one block.
What makes college football so special is that identity, that association with uniforms and the colors. This is what we recognize. This is what we know. That's our team.
Hey, hey, Alabama, down the tide. Every member behind you. It's your stride.
I remember coaching the Rose Bowl when USC played Michigan. As I walked onto that field, I thought how fortunate I was to sit there and look at both teams and the helmets that they had and the history to those helmets. Made it such a special game and such a fun part to be a part of.
Uniforms are very important. It's an example of identity, but it's also a ritual, and you come to expect these things.
After much debate, here are the 11 greatest uniforms of the first 150 years of college football.
The burnt orange of Texas is so identifiable, not just with that school, but I think with that entire state.
What Oregon said is, what do you want? You're 17.
When I mentioned Alabama, I used the D word, dynasty.
When you think about Ohio State's helmet, and when you see he's got a ton of stickers on it, you're saying this guy's the real deal.
When I see the crimson and cream, I know these are the most extraordinary athletes.
Penn State colors, they're pretty good because they're so classic. They seem so unchanged.
LSU is one of those rare teams that wear white at home, and it sets them apart in college football.
Introducing the seniors for the USC Trojans. They'll be wearing the cardinal and gold.
This is the Michigan helmet, the most distinctive helmet in the world.
If I see houndstooth in any capacity, I think of Alabama. Period.
The gold helmet is probably the thing that sets it all off. It's so plain that it's beautiful.
When they walked out in the Packers uniforms, we was like, that's the Packers. like that is them. So I think there's an element to what Mark and what Holly was saying about Penn State and Alabama. When those two teams come out in those uniforms, it takes you back to just like this is part of the holy grail of this particular.
Absolutely. It's your identity. Alabama, it's your identity. Tony Nathan, it could be Mark Ingram.
One time they did a somewhat alternate uniform. There was just a hint of houndstooth in the trim. And you know, you said you can upset the Alabama fans easily by changing the uniform, but that was one that, at least temporarily, they would probably accept.
Because Saban did it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.